Hello everyone and welcome to the third of Orca's lessons. In this lesson we're going to learn about how whales, dolphins and porpoises communicate with each other, and we will also listen to some whale songs. My name is Anna and I work for Orca. Orca are a whale and dolphin conservation charity who are absolutely dedicated to the protection of whales, dolphins and porpoises and their homes in the oceans around the UK and the rest of the world. First of all, let's look at what communication is and why it is important. Communication can be defined as the sending or receiving of information and sharing ideas and feelings. How do humans communicate? Can you think of 3 different ways that we communicate with each other? We use our words, for example, saying hello to each other. We use hand signals and body language, for example, waving to each other. And we use facial expressions, for example, a big smile. So do you think whales and dolphins communicate? And how do you think they communicate with each other? Do you think whales and dolphins use sound, facial expressions, or body language, or all 3? Well, they certainly use sounds, and they definitely use body language as well. But what about facial expressions? Generally, whales and dolphins don't use their facial expressions, but there are a couple of species that do, like the beluga whale. This picture of a bottlenose dolphin might look like it's smiling, but just like dogs, whales and dolphins don't have muscles in their faces to smile. It's just their natural expression. Just like humans, whales have senses, and some of these are very important for their communication. Can you name the 5 human senses? Write them down on a piece of paper. The 5 senses are sight, sound, touch, smell, and taste. So let's have a look at how whales use these senses. Well, sight is first, and whales and dolphins generally have very good eyesight, except for some of the species of river dolphins which are actually blind, and their eyes are on the side of their head. But why can't whales use their eyesight underneath the water? Well, it gets too dark and murky. Sunlight only reaches to about 200 metres deep in the ocean, and some whales will dive much deeper than this to find their food. So sight is not a whale or dolphin's main sense. Okay, the next sense is touch. Dolphins especially use their beaks for touching, and whales use their bodies for communication by jumping out of the water and creating loud sounds. Touch is very important, but touch is not a whale or dolphin's main sense. Taste. Dolphins and whales, according to new research, have actually lost their ability to taste any flavours except for salty. So taste is not a whale or dolphin's main sense. What about smell? The whales and dolphins that have teeth lack an olfactory nerve, and therefore it's believed that they have no sense of smell. Remember that their nose is on top of their head in the form of their blowhole. However, scientists do believe that some of the baleen whales, which as we know don't have teeth, do have an olfactory nerve, so they can smell. So smell is not a whale or dolphin's main sense. So which sense have we missed out? It's sound. Sound is a whale and dolphin's primary sense and what they use mainly for communication, and this is what we will mainly focus on during this talk. This image here is of a pilot whale, and this behaviour is called spy hopping, when the animal has a look around using its eyes. Unlike humans, whales and dolphins can see when underneath the water and out of the water. Have you ever opened your eyes underwater? For humans, it's very blurred, but for whales and dolphins, they can see really clearly out of the water and underneath the water. Sound is the best way to communicate across a huge expanse of ocean, because sound travels at a speed of 4 times greater underwater than in the air. Again, they can't use their eyesight in most of the ocean as it's too dark and murky. Whales and dolphins use sound for communication, for finding food and foraging, and for navigating and finding their way. During the Cold War, when the US Navy was listening out for Russian submarine activity in the Pacific Ocean, they found that one of the main sounds they would hear were those of whales, often many miles away, communicating to each other across the sea. So do dolphins and whales have ears? Can anyone point to the ear in this picture of a dolphin? We can already see where its eye, nose and mouth are. Its ear is actually here. Dolphins do not have external ears like humans, but they can hear through two small holes on either side of their head. In bottlenose dolphins, the ear hole is only 2 to 3 millimeters in diameter. However, dolphins don't actually use these slits for hearing. Instead, they hear underwater via their jawbone. Whales do use their ears for hearing, but we'll talk about dolphin communication first. Dolphins make lots of different kinds of sounds. They can whistle, squeak, and click to communicate, and even show their feelings, like when they're excited or afraid. Did you know that dolphins have individual names for each other called a signature whistle, kind of just like human names? Scientists believe that many species of dolphin make their own unique whistle, like a signature that we would use as a name. The mother dolphin whistles to the calf when it's born, so the baby will learn the mother's sound. When a baby dolphin is about 1 month old, it has its own signature whistle, and a dolphin can copy its friend's whistle and will remember the sound after many years. So let's have a look and a listen at a bottlenose dolphin signature whistle. Another way that dolphins use their sound is through echolocation. Have you heard of this before? All of the whales and dolphins that have teeth use echolocation. So just a recap, toothed whales include all the dolphins, all porpoises, and some whales like the sperm whale and the beaked whale. As we already know, the ocean can be a dark and murky place, which makes it very difficult for animals such as dolphins to find their food. So instead of using their eyes, they use their amazing sense of sound, and they hunt using echolocation. Echolocation is the same as what bats use to find food in the air when it's dark. So this animation here shows how echolocation works. Dolphins produce clicks and squeaks in a small organ just below their blowhole, so they actually produce these sounds in their nose. The organ which is used to create the sounds is called the phonic lips. They work in the same way as when you release an air out of a balloon, and when you pull apart the neck of the balloon, it makes a squeaking noise. It sounds just like a dolphin. The sounds pass through an organ in the dolphin's head called the melon. The melon is a fatty organ which concentrates the sound into a sound beam. The melon causes toothed whales and dolphins to have a very round, bulbous forehead. So the sound then goes out into the sea, and when these sounds hit an object, such as a small fish, the echo of the sound bounces back to the lower jaw of the dolphin and to the dolphin's inner ear. From the echoing sound, the animal is able to determine the size, shape, speed, and even the density of the prey. So is it a nice yummy fish, or is it a rock, for example? Some species of dolphin can produce over 80 clicks per second, allowing them to build up a really accurate picture of their surroundings. And scientists think that by moving their head from side to side and sending out dozens of these echolocation clicks, they build up a picture in their head similar to that of an ultrasound, like you would see a pregnant woman having to see her baby. It's kind of the same way as if you think of what happens when you throw a ball at a wall. If you're standing close to the ball will bounce back really quickly. But if you're far away, the ball will take longer to get back. So imagine the ball is that sound beam. Dolphins use this information to learn where things are around them. Scientists believe that when a dolphin clicks very fast, it can also be a way to communicate feelings too. And later on in this video, we'll be listening to what dolphins sound like. But now let's think about whales. And some whales are famous for their songs, but not all species of whales actually sing. The only whales that do sing are the blue whale, the humpback whale, the minke whale, the bowhead whale and the fin whale. As we already know, most of the large whales do not have teeth. Instead, they have baleen. So they do not use echolocation. Instead, they sing to each other, and whales have a voice box similar to a human to make these noises. And to make these noises, baleen whales contract and relax muscles in the throat and the chest, causing air to flow between the lungs and the laryngeal sac, which is the pink tissue in the diagram. By contracting and releasing the lungs, this causes vibrations and produces sounds. So it's quite similar to how humans make sounds too. So what do you think whales use sound for? We've got 6 options here. Do you think whales use sounds for being territorial, for finding their food, for navigation, for catching food, being social and talking to each other, or for finding a mate? There is only one option here that is not correct. Can you guess which one it is? It's finding food. As these large baleen whales do not have any teeth, they don't use echolocation to find their food. Instead, every year they travel thousands of miles to areas of the ocean where they know through experience that there will be a lot of food at certain times of the year. This is called migration, and we'll learn more about this in a different lesson. They will, however, use sound to herd up prey to eat. But dolphins use sound for all of the reasons we can see here on the screen. But large whales don't only use their voices for communication, they can also use their bodies. Whales use tails and fins to make loud slapping noises on the surface of the water to communicate non-verbally. This sound can be heard from hundreds of meters below the surface and may be a warning sign of aggression or a tool to scare schools of fish together, making them an easier meal. Humpback whales in particular, like you can see in this picture, are famous for their amazing acrobatics, jumping out of the water called breaching, tail slapping and fin slapping. So in this video here we can see a humpback whale slapping its pectoral fins, that's the fins on the side of its body, slapping them on the surface of the water. Can you imagine the huge sound that that's making underneath the water? And here we can see tail slapping as well. And a huge breach. That's when the whale jumps right out of the water and does a backflip or a tummy flip. So now we're going to play a game of whose voice is that? As you already know, there's lots of different species of whales and dolphins out there in the oceans, and they all sound a bit different from one another. So what I'm going to do is play you a recording of a sound, and first of all I want you to try and guess if it's a whale, a dolphin or a porpoise, and then have a guess at what species of whale, dolphin or porpoise that might be. Are you ready for the first one? So whose voice do you think that was? Did you think it belonged to a whale, a dolphin, or a porpoise? This sound was made by a dolphin. Anyone guess what species it was? It was the common dolphin, this beautiful dolphin that has a lovely figure of 8 pattern on the side of its body. And common dolphins can be seen in small pods, but also huge pods of over 10,000 animals. And they talk to each other in tonal whistles, as you heard, and it's thought that different pods have different whistles as well. Okay, are you ready for the next one? This is contestant number 2. What did you think of that sound? And who did you think it belonged to? Do you think that sound was being made by a whale, a dolphin, or a porpoise? These beautiful sounds were made by a whale. But what species of whale do you think they were made by? Those sounds were made by the humpback whale, and they are famous for their beautiful songs. Only the males sing, and that's thought to attract females. Their songs can last for hours. They have the longest songs of any whale, and some of their songs can be up to 4 hours long. And if a humpback whale hears another whale singing a song that it really likes, it'll add that whale's song to the end of their song. So their songs get longer and longer, and they become a combination of lots of different whales' songs that they like. So it's kind of like when we hear a really catchy song on the radio first thing in the morning and we're singing it in our heads all day long. But the humpback whales sing them loud for everyone to hear. And a fun fact is that humpback whale mother and calf pairs actually whisper to each other to keep them safe from predators like the killer whales. And that's so the killer whales can't hear them. Are you ready for contestant number 3? Who do you think is making this sound? Do you think that sound was made by a whale, a dolphin, or a porpoise? This sound was made by a harbour porpoise, the only type of porpoise that we see in UK and European waters. And as we heard, their echolocation is very high frequency, fast clicks. And harbour porpoises produce sounds at a frequency so high that it cannot be heard by killer whales, again, so the killer whales can't hear them coming. Unlike other whales, they can only produce one sound, and that's mostly used for echolocation. Are you ready for contestant number 4? Who do you think this sound belongs to? So, do you think that sound was made by a whale, a dolphin, or a porpoise? This sound was made by a whale, and the species making that sound was the sperm whale. And when the sperm whale is echolocating, it makes the loudest noise in the animal kingdom. These sounds can even be loud enough to stun their favourite food, the giant squid. But how loud is actually loud? So here on this scale we have a variety of different sounds, from a human breathing at 10 decibels. Now a decibels is just a measure of how loud something is, all the way up to a rocket launch. So you can see here we've got a bird call at 40 decibels, a hippopotamus at 110 decibels, a bottlenose dolphin a bit louder at 150 decibels, a lion roar at 188 decibels, or a rocket launch at 205 decibels. Where do you think on this scale the sperm whale clicks would sit? They're actually right at the top. The sperm whale clicking is 230 decibels loud. Very, very, very loud indeed. Okay, are you ready for contestant number 5? Who do you think this sound belongs to? So do you think those sounds were made by a whale, a dolphin, or a porpoise? Those sounds were actually made by the largest species of dolphin. It's the orca, or the killer whale. And as you can hear, their sounds are mainly made up of whistles, calls and clicks. And scientists think that around the world, orcas speak different dialects or languages, just like humans do. As we already know, orcas around the world feed on different prey, and their communication comes into this. So the orcas that feed on other marine mammals are very quiet and echolocate rarely, and that's so that their prey doesn't hear them coming. But orcas that feed on fish are much louder and chattier, and they actually use these calls to help herd up fish to make them easier to catch. Okay, are you ready for contestant number 6? Who do you think this voice belongs to? So, contestant number 6, do you think that sound belongs to a whale, a dolphin, or a porpoise? This sound was made by a whale, and it was made by the elusive bowhead whale. The bowhead whale lives in the cold, icy Arctic Ocean near the North Pole all year round, and it's actually the longest living mammal on the planet. They can live up to, or maybe over, 220 years old. So incredible that these huge animals can live for such a long time. Okay, so to recap on lesson 3, we know that cetaceans use communication to find food, to navigate and to talk to each other. We know that whales, dolphins and porpoises use sound as it's much more effective than eyesight underneath the water. We know that toothed whales use echolocation, and we've heard some examples of the Harbour porpoise, the common dolphin and the orca. But we know that baleen whales sing, like the bowhead whale and the humpback whale. And through the sound recordings we've heard, we've learned that different species of whales, dolphins and porpoises all make different sounds. Thank you so much for listening to lesson 3, and I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. If you want to learn more about Orca, please visit our website www.orcaweb.org.uk. If you have enjoyed these sessions, and if you can make a donation or become a member, that would be greatly appreciated to help us support our vital conservation work. Thank you.